Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the morning drive. It is Mira Business FM. The Strait of Hormuz now. The ceasefire has eased tensions between the US and Iran, but uncertainty over the next round or rounds of peace talks towards peace talks means that risks remain in the Strait. So how safe is one of the world's busiest shipping routes today? Here to discuss the latest maritime security situation, vessel traffic, and what it means for global trade and businesses. Chris Long is Head of Intelligence and Compliance at Neptune P2P Group, which is a global security, a risk manager, risk solutions company. Chris, good to have you in the studio.
Hi, nice to meet you too.
We were online before. Look, headlines suggest shipping is stabilising. Following the announcement on June the 27th, this kind of widened route. Is the Strait actually reopening, or is it a tactical pause in a much larger conflict? Where are we?
Yeah, we're in this situation where there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment. We've seen a lot of shipping going out of the Gulf in the last week, particularly. They're using two different routes. Iran is brokering a northern route close to their shore, which requires ships to sort of coordinate that with them. But there's also this southern route, which the International Maritime Organization are pushing. It's a southern route very close to the tip of Musandam in Oman, and we've seen quite a lot of ships going through there. Last week there was like a 25% uptake in ships going out of the Gulf after the announcements of the ceasefire, the MOU signing, and then, as you probably know, Iran responded with a couple of attacks on vessels in that southern route, and there's been a pause at the moment on that route particularly. Although I've been watching marine traffic over the last 3 days, and there's still ships going in and out on southern and northern routes within the Gulf. The central route, the traditional route in, Iran alluded to laying mines in that area. So at the moment, that's an area ships are avoiding. But generally, they can still go in and out if they're willing to take a risk.
How would you, if somebody said to you, so how secure are things, how would you describe the security situation in the Strait of Hormuz at the moment?
I'd say it's tenuous. I think we're at this situation where Iran still wants to maintain control of the Strait. And to do that, it's got to do something kinetic. If ships are going to go through and they are not going to contact the Iranians, then they have to do something about that to retain control. And this is exactly what happened 2 days ago. You know, they saw ships were getting out, if you like, through the southern route. They had to reassert their authority, and to do that, they hit 2 ships with drones, and that really did put a stop to ships going through that route for a day or so. You know, the big companies are all sitting back and waiting to see how things develop with the ceasefire situation.
For sure. I mean, how much of a meaningful difference has the ceasefire made? And this kind of, it's a path to peace, we hope. But how much of a meaningful difference has that made to commercial shipping?
I think there's a far less threat to commercial shipping at the moment. Certainly those that are working within the Arabian Gulf. You know, but prior to the ceasefire, we saw ships attacked all over the region. But at the moment, it seems to be focused, or the Iranians' focus is on the Strait of Hormuz. They're not attacking vessels at anchor, let's say, off Dubai or Sharjah. And that seems to have, the threat's lessened for sure to ships. It's just the Strait of Hormuz control, and that's what it's all about at the moment.
Okay. There's uncertainty surrounding the next round of US-Iran talks, of course, as you would expect. But how, as a shipping company, how do you assess the risk? What are the stages, the processes there?
Well, you're probably aware that the Iranian northern route and their control of that route goes against all international law. The Strait should be a two-way route for ships to get in and out. At the moment, they're stopping that illegally on all the international, observations. That's not legal. But I think the major shipping companies are sitting back, still waiting to see what happens with the ceasefire. There's a lot of shipping companies that will take a risk, as long as insurance companies will cover them. Then they're willing to take that risk, I think. But yeah, I think we're in this phase of let's wait and see what happens in the next week or so.
I mean, even if formal blockades are relaxed, we're still kind of dealing with the legacy of the last 4 months or so, aren't we? With jamming and satellite spoofing and mines, whether they are there or not. So for a vessel owner, the danger zone is, I mean, in theory, it's as widespread as it was in March.
It is. You're right. The threats are still there. The mines, pretty certain that mines were laid. US sources I've talked to, the numbers are up to 80. They're talking about. We know at the moment there's minesweepers working in what was the traffic separation scheme within the strait. I've seen on marine traffic and other tracking sites that those minesweepers are operating, and they've cleared the channel on the southern route, as we know, to enable ships to get out that way. I think a lot of shipping companies are waiting and observing, if you like, shipping guidance from the international organisations like the IMO. The IMO brokered this plan to get these ships out of the Gulf. In theory, it was a good plan. Ships would coordinate a transit with them. They would be called forward to transit around that southern route and exit accordingly. But as I say, Iran didn't like that. Obviously, didn't. They could see they were losing control of the route, and therefore that's why they attacked those vessels a couple of days ago. Ever Lovely was one, Kiku the other one. So yeah, it's all about control at the moment, and Iran holds, not to use the word Trump, but they use the Trump. They have got the Trump cards there. It's tricky situation for shipping and ship owners.
There's an irony, in terms of vocabulary, at least. Yeah. It's been reported there's an Omani proposal for a new security framework that's been circulated. So that includes potential service fees for navigation, right? Okay. So from an intelligence perspective, and I'm asking you to speculate, and I know it's slightly unfair, but you understand how this works. But do you think that this move signals a shift? Is it a permanent shift in how commercial vessels will need to transit the region?
It's an interesting question. I think there's no smoke without fire. I think Oman and Iran have definitely discussed payment of fees. The US categorically says that's not going to be the case. So we're in this bargaining position at the moment. I think Oman plays a clever game. They don't really commit themselves wholeheartedly to either side in any sort of situation. They're always sort of peace brokers within the GCC countries, always have been. But there is potential for them to make quite a lot of money if shipping industry decides that they are willing to pay fees to Iran and Oman to exit and enter the Strait of Hormuz. But then that sets a precedent for other straits around the world. Obviously, Suez Canal. There's obvious reasons why there's a charge there, but you've got other narrow pinch points around the world, like the Strait of Malacca, for example, Singapore Straits. Is Malaysia, is Singapore going to start charging fees for ships to go through there? You set a precedent if you allow it to happen. Yeah.
Do you think that, again, this is speculation, so opinion only, and I get that, so there's the caveat, but do you think charterers, insurers are becoming more confident, or I'm asking you to offer a feeling, really?
Yeah. I think there is more confidence, and I think if a fee was levied, and it was agreed internationally, then we'd return to normal. But and we're not. I wouldn't have thought we're talking about huge amounts of money here. It's there's a lot of traffic. 140 ships a day going through there. It's like Suez Canal is huge. financial money maker for Egypt, and it could be the same for Oman and Iran. But ultimately, I just think it's about control. It's Iran wanting to be the big player in the region, and this is one way they can assert their authority.
Insurance routes surged something like 4 times, maybe as much as 6 times at the height of the crisis. From data that I've seen, have we seen a meaningful softening in war risk premiums more recently? Do you think insurers are still pricing in the possibility of a reclosure?
I think they are. I think you're right. I think at the highest point we saw a 10-fold increase in premiums as much as that. Certainly for US, anything connected to Israel, those premiums were up at 10 times. I think they're back down to 2.5, 3%. 3 times higher than they were prior to the conflict. So there has been a softening. There always is. The shipping industry is very resilient. The insurance market's very resilient. And they do respond to positivity. And if they can see something that's going to happen out of this ceasefire, if there's going to be some sort of agreement, whether that involves fees or not, I think you will see the insurance market respond to that favourably.
It's responding to just some sort of resolution, isn't it? Some sort of idea of
it's certainty, isn't it? At the moment, it's uncertain. If you've got whichever way it goes, you've got that certainty, which is what insurance companies.
And they can plan. That makes sense. I mean, we've seen the US blockading Iranian ports, Iran blockading the Gulf. How long does the knock-on effect of this, the container equipment shortages, there's a massive backlog of vessels. How long does that take to clear once transit kind of officially resumes?
It will clear pretty quickly. I think, as I say, we saw a 25% increase in traffic last week, on the back of the ceasefire agreement. And again, if tomorrow, for example, there was a resolution and they said, right, the strait is open, Iran agrees to it, you'd see 200, 250 ships a day going through the strait. At the moment, this figure's banded between 8,000 and 10,000 ships affected either side of the strait. The mass is there. It wouldn't take more than a week to 10 days to clear that backlog, I don't think, to get ships in and out. But it is very much dependent on safe routes, and making sure there's no potential threats from mines, for example. And what I've read, what I know, the issue with the mines is they don't know exactly where they've been laid. Mines can be swept, i.e. you can sweep a channel so you know that a channel is clear, but that's got to be then continuously swept because mines, if they're drifting type mines, could drift back into the channel, so you have to sweep. But the other thing is mines on the seabed have to be hunted. That's a different type of mine operation, mine counter operation. And to do that, to search for mines on the seabed and then to say that area is clear, we think will take at least 6 to 8 months. That's even with... As we know, UK has sent their mine countermeasure vessel. The US are already doing it. We know that for sure. French, Germans have alluded that they may come as well. But I think it will take 8 months to be absolutely certain there's no mines in that transit route.
Okay. I mean, that seems to have been the answer to the international support kind of request, doesn't it? That those kinds of facilities are offered. Lots of businesses are already committed to long-term rerouting via the Cape of Good Hope to avoid the uncertainty, bringing the certainty back. At what point does a temporary alternative like that become a new standard for supply chains?
I think for some companies it probably already has. And I don't think, this is my personal opinion, I don't think you're going to see the same number of ships coming back into the Arabian Gulf. People will have already made their other contingencies to get their cargoes from elsewhere. Aviation fuel is a prime example for the UK, for example. A lot of aviation fuel derived from oil in the Gulf used to go to the UK. UK now is getting it from the States, from America, and that may continue now. May look at it and think, well, we're paying a little bit more to get it from the States, but it's worth not having to take that risk.
It's worth the effort, kind of thing. Yeah.
So, and I think that, without a doubt, You're going to see probably a loss of revenue in the GCC from oil and gas, because companies, charters will have already, bought up their, and their contingency plans are working fine. And like you said, it was the same when the Houthis were stopping ships going up the Red Sea. Industry very quick to change the route. Once that time lag, and you've got that supply chain working, there's no there's additional costs. We know that, but the flow of goods is continuous. Whether you're going around the Cape or you're going through the shortcut,
it's still getting them, don't you?
Yeah.
If you look, I have a friend who's in shipping, moving, international moving goods, etc. He's talked about losing containers, all sorts of issues that he's faced. But if you have a company and you have cargo sitting in or around Jebel Ali, what intelligence metrics should you be monitoring today to determine if something is safe to move?
Well, Jebel Ali is a prime example. I don't know if many people are aware, but the US have got a very small military cadre, if you like, within the port that used to service their warships that were operating in the Gulf. I'm not sure if that's still the case. It certainly was 5 years ago when I was here. Which then that makes Jebel Ali, for example, a target for Iran, potential target. And if as a country, if you want to affect another country's financial standing, if you like, then hitting its logistics sites is one way of doing that. So,
which is what we've seen. I mean,
we have. But I think, as we were chatting before we come on air, Iran could have done a lot more than it has done to affect logistics in the apart from the Strait of Hormuz, clearly, but they could have inflicted a lot more damage on ports than they have, if they wanted to, and that will always remain a threat.
And that threat's always there anyway. I mean, okay. We're seeing a failure, really, in the sort of just-in-time model for energy, for IT hardware. Is the global trade system, and again, asking you to speculate here, but it's opinion, drive your opinion forward. Is the global trade system structurally capable of surviving another closure of this magnitude, or is the Strait of Hormuz now kind of a no-go for that longer-term planning?
Yeah, I think we've just discussed it, really. I think countries, companies have made different, have different contingencies now. They're sourcing their goods from other places. I mean, containers, we know road transport is being, via Saudi Arabia into the UAE has increased tenfold during this crisis. There's other ways to get goods into countries. They don't all have to come by sea. We're looking at ports in Oman that are 4 times as busy as they were. A lot of that is container stuff that's coming into the GCC from Oman. So there's alternative ways of getting things into countries.
Okay. You deal with maritime risk every day. I mean, it's not just maritime risk, obviously, but what are you advising clients at the moment who are trying to maybe to balance the cost, and it's a huge cost of rerouting against the security risks of transiting the strait at the moment?
Look, it's our job to advise and risk assess transportation for companies. I do that on a daily basis. It's not my job to tell them they can do this or that. I point out the risks, they make the decisions. So on balance at the moment, we're still telling ship operators particularly not to transit the Strait of Hormuz. If they then wish to make an agreement or enter an agreement with Iran that allows them to exit, that's their decision. We tend to push shipping companies to follow guidance given by international shipping companies, IMO, for example. And it was a really positive step when the IMO stepped in the other day to create this, they called it an evacuation plan for ships, because it was a one-way exit, that plan they had. There was no contingency for ships coming in.
Yeah.
It was all about getting ships out, getting seafarers back home, and goods, like you say, back in, onto the commercial market. So we tend to tell people, point the risks out. It's your decision when you take the risk, but in our opinion, you should be following international shipping guidance, really, for if you're operating in this region.
Clear, concise, but maybe slightly more persuasive than you might otherwise be. I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Final question for you, Chris. If you had to give one piece of boardroom level advice to a logistics manager, or even senior, what would it be? Would it be stay the course with alternative routes, or get prepared to re-enter the Gulf?
I think a bit of both. Yeah, for sure. I think there's positive signs. The 60-day ceasefire, I think without a doubt, is going to be extended. They're not going to agree on the US and Iran not going to agree on everything in that 60-day period. I think it will get extended. I think the Strait of Hormuz, the nuclear issues are the two main stumbling points, if you like, within the agreement.
Yeah.
And I think the SOA Strait of Hormuz is probably the easiest one of the two of those to overcome. Therefore, I think we will see some sort of agreement on that. Whether that includes Oman and Iran charging fees to go through the Gulf, we'll see. But my thoughts are that it won't come to that. I don't think the US will agree to that. Otherwise, what's this all been about? We ended into a conflict where there were no fees. Ships could travel through the Strait of Hormuz, free of any threat. And if the Americans don't come out with a deal that returns it to that status quo, then what's it all been about? I just don't think they'll allow the Gulf to be governed in any way different to how it was before.
So some sort of return to the status quo, we hope.
Yeah.
I'm hanging on to the positives, I'll tell you that much for sure. Chris Long, Head of Intelligence and Compliance at Neptune P2P Group, Global Security Risk Solutions Risk Management Company. Good to talk to you. Appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Like, follow and subscribe for more interviews like this from Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk. Mira Business FM, the sound of success.
It's the Morning Drive. David McKenzie is back. He's the big wheel. He is El Grande Pueblo. I made that one up yesterday. In my head, I heard myself saying El Grande Pueblo, and I thought that meant something. I think it means big village.
Big village?
It doesn't quite imply. Sounds great, though. El Grande
I've been in the gym a bit, so maybe big village is a good thing.
I wasn't going there.
Oh.
I wasn't thinking about that at all. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah,
Which is the reason why you weren't here last week. We did miss you.
Thank you. I actually missed doing, but I was with my wife. So, as much as I love being with you two, the wife was better.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. You have to say that though, don't you?
Yeah, because she's listening.
In case she's watching. So recruitment and HR and jobs are more now. How was the staycation, by the way?
Really good. I went to this place. Very short segue. I went to a place called Al Wathba in the on the Abu Dhabi border. It's a place I'd never heard about. It's beautiful. The service was amazing. It's a Marriott hotel. I really loved it. The staff were fantastic. It kept giving me birthday gifts and stuff. It was really nice.
What kind of birthday gifts did they give
They gave me a little cake. Then when I
a car or
no, they did a little sign and they'd written on it in like an ink thing. They spelled my name wrong, but I'm good with that. It was David, and it was really nice. And they gave me fruit platters and stuff. It was really nice.
That's lovely.
Yeah, it was a proper old school Dubai service.
And a real getaway, so very chilled, I'm guessing.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, nothing to bother you. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
So, today, you sent me an article this week, and it was all about Etihad Rail, and that's been kind of the big announcement this week, certainly in this country. So passenger services have begun.
Yep.
You can get all the way from Abu Dhabi to Fujairah now. More stations are going to open. It's about 57 minutes to go Abu Dhabi to Dubai.
Oh, is that how much it is? I didn't realise how much the time was.
At the moment, Abu Dhabi Dubai is 57 minutes, but they're saying that there are future high-speed plans, so that could cut to, get this, 30 minutes.
This is odd.
Good,
this is an odd thing I got really excited about, and I think it's because I'm from the UK originally, despite being here 20-odd years. But trains to me are what's missing here in terms of the work life. Because if you think about it at the moment, the economy is hamstrung a bit by location because, as you well know, Dubai is building and building and building and building.
Yeah.
And yet our centres are very small. It's a very small country. And yet we've got thousands and thousands of miles of desert that if you get the trains sorted and get the mass transit sorted, it will open up the country to business, to better accommodation, cheaper accommodation, nicer places to live, etc., which won't cost a fortune.
It's a very good point. There's something about train travel when you're working as well. I've done the commuting thing, London commuting thing. Something about that. That's another aspect of it. But you're right. It adds so much that you kind of didn't realise you didn't have.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, you think about everywhere.
I
I obviously, as always, I do a bit of stats on this thing. So I figured out how many people travel into London every single day. Just get a wild guess. Faraji, I don't know if you know this. So in London, London's the main city, obviously, of the UK, but majority of the workers travel in because it's too expensive to live in London. Guess how many people per day?
Travel in from all over the place.
This is so you've got super travellers, which are 90 minutes plus, commuters, which is an hour plus, and then you've got local residents, which takes, you go on metro, tubes. We call them tubes, obviously. How many do you reckon on the longer commutes?
What's the population? 65 million or something like that? Yeah. What's the population of London? 12 million, something like that? Okay, so I'm going to double that.
24 million?
24 million.
It's just a shy less of that.
Oh, it's close.
Circa 18 million people
That's a huge number.
Commute every day into London. On the super commuter side, which is 2 hours plus, it's 600,000 people from Brighton, from Oxford, which are 2 hour plus journeys.
That's serious.
And the reason they do that is a number of things. This is very relevant to the UAE. You can get a better quality of life out of London. You can do the work on the train.
Yeah.
And there's no stress. So we did a survey recently about what are your main concerns about the UAE? because there's very few. It's quite a nice place to live. But this is for business terms. One is it's expensive to live.
Sure.
Because, rents are expensive, houses are expensive, which will change in the next couple of years because of the building going on. And the other one was driving. That was the second one. And it's not so much the driving, it's the stress of the driving. It's the, getting into a traffic queue where people are up your bumper and stuff like that. But it's the stress. But by the way, this isn't just the UAE, this is everywhere in the world, I think.
Yeah.
And one of the things, if you talk to people that have been in Europe and have commuted, one of the things they love about the train, you can get on the train in the morning with your cup of coffee from the station cafe, which usually is not bad now. You can either read the paper, read the book, or start doing some work. And on the way back, you can do the reverse. You can have a kip, talk to your friends, or do some work.
Yeah, exactly that. I used to travel across London from west to east. Well, I don't know why I didn't live in the east, but I lived in the west.
Where do you live in the west?
Oh,
Richmond or something?
do you know what? No, I lived by Kew Bridge.
Ooh,
and then,
nice.
it's very nice.
Very nice.
Thank you so much. Rented accommodation.
Doesn't matter. You live near Kew. That's the good thing.
It was a nice area. Bottom end of Chiswick. But then, so I used to travel to the east. So it was about an hour and a quarter if everything went well. So you say no stress. But one observation I would make about the UAE is very unlikely we're going to have an issue with leaves on the line, because you know what happens in the United Kingdom when leaves are on the line, all the trains stutter and everything stops. So there is that stressful thing. But if this runs according to plan, and you can bet that it will, it's going to be a really good way to get to work, and you can get stuff done, and there is Wi-Fi on board, and there's a little table to put your laptop on. So theoretically, it could really add to your workday.
Well, this is not just expats as well, because
It's everybody.
one of the things you look in Ras Al Khaimah, when we're recruiting in Ras Al Khaimah, the biggest issue we have is trying to find male UAE nationals who are under 40 to work in Ras Al Khaimah.
Okay.
Because they all go to Abu Dhabi, to the capital. Now, what they typically do is they live in the capital, they come back at the weekends.
Right.
If a train's going to work and it's going to be an hour, I see a big chunk of people staying back with their families, better quality of life, more people moving back to Ras Al Khaimah and commuting into Abu Dhabi, which would mean less cars on the road, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, it could do. I mean, this train, I think it's something like 400 people on each of the trains. So it's a fair number. And, you would imagine there are going to be trains going every, I don't know, what would they do, every 15 minutes? I don't know how it would work, 10 minutes?
But also, think about what the trains are going to be like here. They're not going to be like our trains in the UK, are they?
No, they'll be nice. But
They'll
to
be
eat your food off the floor.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be clean. They'll be air conditioned. The people won't be fighting in the corridors. There won't be dogs on the seats or bikes parked in the alley. It'll be a very nice, pleasant commute. And the whole thing, you've got to remember that working in the city is fairly stressful because you've got traffic, you've got commute, you've got to find parking, and there's not so much parking anymore. You save costs from parking rather than driving around all the time.
Yeah.
Go to the station, get a coffee, an hour commute, do some work, get ready for the day. And when you come back, the reason I moved to the ranches back in 2006 was I didn't want to live in the city, because my view is when I'm in the city, I'm working. I like to go out of the city, and it decompresses a bit. As a guy, I listen to a podcast, Mira Business FM.
Well done.
She's so happy with that.
Did you give him the envelope with the money?
No, he
in?
didn't.
Good.
He's pretending he did. But as you go out, you start to relax, and when you get home, you're in a better frame of mind.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think lots of people do that, and lots of people use their commute in that way if they can. There's also, I want to get to the real benefits for it, because I think there are some real economic benefits to work in a minute. But there is the romance of travelling by train. The Orient Express thing or the Patagonian Express thing. I used to read lots of travel stuff years ago. But my favourite author, who wrote loads of travel stuff, non-fiction, and he would just go travelling. And his thing was always travelling by train. Paul Theroux, who is Louis Theroux's dad. And he's a fantastic writer. But one book that stands out is The Old Patagonian Express. And it's a journey that starts in, where was it? I think it's Boston. It starts in Boston, somewhere in the north of the US. It goes down through all the Patagonian provinces, all the way to southern Argentina, and it's kind of magical.
Wow!
So it's a really cool book. But my point is not really that book, as great as that book is. It's the journeys that he had, the train travel, and the release of stress, and talking to people on
People
the
you
train,
meet,
opposite the
yeah.
people you meet. That's the other side to this that I think we haven't really thought about.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. When you're on a train, you typically talk to the people who sit opposite you. And
Very often, yeah.
And I think it'll be good unless you get loads of people on their phones all the time. Because in UK, we have a thing called a quiet carriage where you can't use your phones.
Yeah.
And they're always packed because people just want to decompress. And I think the problem we'll have here is everyone on their phones or listening to music without headphones on.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, watching some weird reel. But the other side is, and I think this is a really good point, as people start to use the train, and more people will, you get the sort of people that commute, do the same thing every day, and you start to meet people, you start to nod at people, you start to get to know people. That's a good thing.
One of my mates in UK, I met commuting. And we're still friends to this day. And he I'll tell you how we met. He got on with a cup of coffee and then promptly spilt it on me.
Ah, right.
That was our meeting point. My first thought was, shall I just be polite and say, don't worry? Or shall I go biblical on him? And the look of horror on his face, he went, I'm not sure what to say in this situation. But I think the economic benefits for companies is even better here because if you think about it, you've got the business sectors like DIFC, you've got Business Bay, you've got JLT. There are very few hubs of business that combine living as well. So what will happen is there could be communities that are outside the city now, quite far away as Bab el Shams or Al Gadir, or one of those places, where you'll have businesses as well as residential because it then becomes a mini city. And I think that you might get people commuting into that. Because do you know Al Gadir? There's a place on the border of Dubai, near Gantoot. Have you ever seen it?
I've seen it, yeah, but I've never been. I've never spent any time in it.
It's really cool inside. It's like a ranches in the middle of nowhere. But you could have people living there and commuting to Abu Dhabi or commuting to Dubai because the train stops right outside their development.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's going to happen more and more because there's so much more development between Abu Dhabi and Dubai, isn't there?
Yeah.
So what I wanted to talk to you today is what this actually means for work. You sent me an article last week, how Etihad Rail could change work and hiring across the UAE.
Yeah.
So from your standpoint, as an HR professional, as a recruitment person, a career consultant.
Oh,
that's a good phrase.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It looks like, to me, the beginning of a shift in sort of the UAE labour market geography as much as anything else, because you're going to start to have people thinking, okay, I can live near the train station, I can do this, and if the taxi works out and the bus works, I can that's going to start to happen.
Absolutely. Well, you think about when I used to commute from Oxford into London, I'd drive to the station, park in the station, get the train to London, 2 hours, get the tube from the train station into work. So my commute every day was 2 hours.
2.5 hours?
2.5 hours. And I did that because I was young and stupid.
So that's 5 hours a day of travel?
5 hours a day, yeah. I did it because...
Not unusual, has to be said, but that's very long.
Yeah, but I couldn't afford to live in central London at the time. I'd bought an apartment and I wanted to get on the property ladder. What I did, I moved further and further towards London as I became more successful in my career. Right. And then completely moved out to Oxford again. So I
was going to say, how did that go for you? But obviously
made a lot of money out of property.
Okay.
But yeah, in terms of the how this is going to affect the UI, I think this is going to be a 10-year cycle because the infrastructure is going to have to be built.
Sure.
But also the mindset of people. The problem we have in the UAE, there is not a mindset for public transport.
Not yet.
No. Because the metro's fantastic, but the metro's packed. And actually, to get to the metro sometimes it would be quite difficult because if I think about me in the ranches, my nearest metro station is almost close to my work. So what's the point?
It's a good point. No, I would if it was of benefit to me or it worked. And at the moment it doesn't, so I am still driving. But I still have a public transport mentality. But you're right, you have to make it easy. That's the point.
But we're
starting to see that.
But we're not talking about short journeys here. We're talking about Fujairah to Abu Dhabi, or more importantly, Dubai to Abu Dhabi, because that's going to be the really, really interesting bit. If you build a superstation in the marina or something, people can get the metro to the superstation, and then it'll be a, as you say, 50-minute commute, and you don't have to drive on the highway where it can be quite challenging sometimes.
Tell me about it.
Driving on that road.
The thing is, for years and years, let's take hiring in the UAE. You're kind of restricted by this sort of inter-emirate commute reality, right? So if you've got Etihad Rail bridging Abu Dhabi, Dubai, the Northern Emirates, potentially as far as Saudi Arabia
Saudi, yeah.
in the future. Is the term local hiring going to become obsolete?
Yes.
Okay.
So what will happen is you as clients will say, right, this is the job, this is where we're based. How you get there is not our concern anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
Because now at the moment, there used to be a policy where if you lived in Dubai and you worked in government in Abu Dhabi, you wouldn't get paid the housing fee unless you lived there.
Mm-hmm.
So what will happen now? They go, right, this is your package. How you get here, whether you live here or you commute here, it's up to you. Everything is down to you. And then you make a decision in your mind, right, I'm going to live slightly outside of Dubai because I want a bigger house, a nicer environment for my kids, schooling, whatever it might be. And I will take that time to get on the train and commute down and be stress-free.
There's another side. I mean, there are lots of sides to this. I've made loads of notes. I'm going to chuck loads of stuff at you this morning. Is that okay?
I've got a few, but I'm not as good as you, obviously.
I can see. You've got your handwritten tablet-y thing there. What's that thing called?
It's called a remarkable.
There you go.
Bit like me.
Remarkable. There's a wider pool to choose from now.
Yeah.
As well for companies. So, it's a simple thing. If you can get to work easier in a less stressful way and you don't have to relocate, then you're more likely to take on a role. Because in my mind, if somebody says, yeah, and it looks like a great role, and it's like, and we're in Hebshan, I'm thinking, it's going to be difficult. Much as I like the idea of it, and I've got nothing against Hebshan, don't get me wrong, but that's a very real thing. If you can't get there, you're not going to take it on.
But you look at some of the big companies in Al Ain, Fujairah, Ras Al Khaimah, and even Abu Dhabi, people have turned those down, not because they don't like the job, it's because the commute's too much.
Exactly.
And they don't want to relocate because their family and their life is built here.
Yeah.
So if you take away that problem and you give them a solution, which is Etihad Rail, and it's reasonably costed, which I think the UAE will do, because I've seen the trains, they look amazing.
Well, they are. I think, and I don't know if I'm right about this, I think a ticket is 55 dirhams, Abu Dhabi to Dubai.
That is brilliant.
I think.
Plus your coffee, plus your sandwich, and your newspaper.
Yeah, I think that includes Wi-Fi. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
Really?
But that's what I've seen. And I wonder, if you were to get, there'll be some sort of season ticket thing or monthly arrangement, or whatever it is. So, financially feasible, right?
I think it's a really good idea. I love this, but I'm a big person, a big pro public transport person because I grew up in UK.
I'm a big person. That's going to be the real now, don't you? David McKinsey says
he'll cut it, won't he?
We will.
But I grew up with public transport and I know how it works. I know the downsides. Let's be honest. If it gets packed, if there's a delay, if there's leaves on the line, or it's too cold, or the doors don't shut, which is typical British Rail complaints. But their stock is
British Rail.
Is it still called British Rail? What's it called?
No, that finished about 30 years ago. but there you are.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
I remember somebody once saying to me,
the old rolling stock.
Yeah, the train's not going to go because the wheels don't work. And I'm like, surely this is a very basic part of train. Why do the wheels work? And the guy said the line was too cold. What?
Really?
And we were stuck in London for 2.5 hours. That's when it becomes a problem because then you get the stress. So I think with Etihad Rail, what you've got is brand new rolling stock, very efficient system, very good. It'd be very well manned. It'll be super clean, and it'll be a really nice environment to work in. Now, if it gets too busy, too crammed, you can't get a seat, then there becomes issues. But knowing the UAE, they'll put another train on. Well,
that's what I would guess. I mean, there's loads here. If you can get from Abu Dhabi to Dubai in under an hour, maybe as little as 30 minutes, as higher speed trains come in, does it mean, are we going to see companies start to scout for talent in Emirates that maybe they would have ignored before?
No, because at the moment, we scout everywhere.
You do, right.
So we get, when we have a job in Abu Dhabi, we'll talk to candidates in Dubai.
Yeah.
And we'll say, by the way, you have to be in the office 5 days a week. Typically, most companies don't do that anymore. It's sort of 3 or 4 days. But employers are the ones that are concerned because they go, okay, Ahmed lives in, let's say, Sharjah, and he wants to come work for a government organisation in Abu Dhabi. He's very willing to do the commute. He's very willing to drive down every day. it's the client that's going, I'm not sure. I've got a candidate in Abu Dhabi that's keen. I think I'll go with that candidate in Abu Dhabi.
Right.
So I think it'll affect candidates a lot more because they'll say there's no reason why I can't come to Abu Dhabi because it's going to take me 50 minutes. Currently, from Sharjah to Abu Dhabi, it takes me 2 hours. So I'm cutting my commute time down. And I'm spending less money as well.
Well, this is the other side, isn't it? All right, then. So if commuting between Abu Dhabi and Dubai, let's take that as the example here, the two sort of main cities, I suppose. Are we going to see... does it become standard as a cross-city trip? Does it mean the end of the traditional kind of relocation package?
Yes.
For the mid to senior level?
I think they've gone anyway.
There are a few around, maybe, but
unless you go to Saudi or somewhere like that. But we've talked about Etihad Rail is planning to go to Saudi, Oman, everywhere. So I don't think it's going to be too far away. If I go to Saudi, it takes me an hour and a half to get to Riyadh, but it takes me an hour to get to the airport and get through customs. An hour on the other side, that's 3 hours. The commute might only take 5 hours.
Well, if it's super high speed.
And going through the Leeward Desert, how beautiful that be?
It would be pretty remarkable, yeah.
The problem they're going to have is camels. They're going to have these big old-fashioned shovels on the
like
front.
on the front of in Western. Oh, I should not laugh at that. I'm an evil man. Do you think there's another side to this as well? Are we going to see businesses stop trying to open satellite offices in every emirate and kind of centralise because commutes are easier or easy enough? Is that a possibility?
It could be, but yeah, super sites, that makes perfect sense. But the reality is, I think the reason why people do that is often client need. So, example, Mackenzie Jones has an office in Saudi Arabia because the clients demand us to be there and to be a Saudi company. Yeah. I think in the UAE it's less prevalent but I think Abu Dhabi is becoming much more attractive now as a place to live.
For sure.
Because it's a nicer, calmer, quieter place. And if people are a bit, jaded by the frenetic activity in Dubai, they typically go that way. We're placing a lot of people in Ras Al Khaimah at the moment.
There's a lot going on in Ras Al Khaimah.
I love Ras Al Khaimah.
A lot will happen in Ras Al Khaimah.
Do you know? I love going up there. We did a lot of clients up there, and I was there yesterday actually, and it's going to be an amazing. I saw the plan for 2030. It's amazing.
Yeah,
really good.
Yeah, I know. And the casino is going up at a rate of knots as well.
It's done. The outside of it's almost done, isn't it?
Close, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of snagging to do, Get some paint off the light switches, that kind of thing. I should do that as a job.
Really? Snagging?
Yeah, snagging and window cleaning. Transparent wall maintenance engineering, we used to call it. It's a different time. It was the 80s.
Like one of my mates said once when he was a student, he said, I'm a PPL. What's that? We're at a party and we were trying to impress people. And I said, PPA. And I said, what is that? And he just said that to that guy. And the guy was really impressed. He went, yeah, I'm a PPA. And the guy went, oh, I'm mayor. I said, what is it? He goes, petrol pump attendant.
That's what I want. I never know what to say to people when they say, what do you do? So I kind of avoid the question. I always think, I don't know what this is. Here's another question for you.
Yes.
Rail travel, right, allows for Wi-Fi and power at each seat on this new system. 3 classes in the trains on Etihad Rail. But here's a question. Does it change the calculation of a workday? Because if the commute is just part of a workday, it could become part of billable office hours for some professionals, in theory.
Ooh, yeah, like accountants or solicitors.
Accountants, solicitors, lawyers.
Well, technically, if you're working...
In theory.
But I think what could happen, and this could be a very real thing, is that people go, okay, your workday starts at 9 and finishes at 5. If you're online on the train, you can have meetings.
Well, it's funny, I was thinking that just now. You could literally have executive meetings on the train going somewhere. If you've got a 57-minute and you've got a big presentation in Abu Dhabi.
The only problem is you might get David turning up, he's got his dog and a cup of coffee and spills it everywhere, and that could ruin your meeting. So there is that social aspect we have to be very careful of. And you know what it's like here? You go to a restaurant, everyone's talking on their phones really loudly.
Yeah.
So in UK, they've got the quiet carriage, which I think works very well. So there could be a business carriage, which I think would work very well.
That could work here. But there's an etiquette to travelling as well.
Yes.
By the way, you're right. Dogs are allowed. Pets are allowed on the train. Bikes and stuff like that.
I'm going to take Raptor
not
with me.
allowed. No bikes.
No bikes.
Can't take your bike on there. No.
That's a shame.
Well, you should cycle to wherever you're going anyway, shouldn't you?
What to Abu Dhabi?
Yeah,
It's a long old ride, that one, isn't it? Probably a very dangerous one. Actually, no, there's a cycle track that goes from Dubai to Abu Dhabi.
There is now.
Yeah, I've been on it.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Because I'm a triathlete.
I know you are. Somebody called you a warhorse once.
Yes, you did. I think to get a T-shirt, maybe a triathlon on the front and a war horse on the back.
I really thought this conversation would go better.
Let's go back to where we were.
We already have hybrid work. So does rail connectivity act as the final piece of the puzzle? It's going to allow people to live where they want while working where the industry is. That, I think, is probably the key to all of this. Yes. Isn't it?
Yeah, and I think what will happen, we'll start having communities that are further and further from the city, which will create their own social hubs. So there'll be cafes, restaurants, exercise facilities, but it'll be quite far out from the city. So you're going to create a much bigger Dubai, a much more prosperous Dubai that's spread out more. Because at the moment, we're very centered on the beach, aren't we?
Yeah, okay.
So I think what rail will do, it'll allow people to live further out, better quality of life, probably quieter as well, because obviously the roads are quite busy at the moment. But also, if we can get the connectivity on the trains, it'll make work-life balance so much better. And this is another key thing, the work-life balance. Everyone talks about it here, and we should do 4 days a week. We should do 1 day a week, whichever Emirates going to do that next. It's ridiculous. And I'm not a big advocate of this. The reality is we are here as expats to work.
Right.
We're also here to live. But we need to work to live because it's not cheap to live here. So if we start reducing the days people work, we're going to put more and more pressure on them during those shorter times they're having to work. Because the productivity, the amount of work you get is not going to reduce. Your productivity has to massively increase.
Sure.
That means you're putting more stress on yourself.
In theory, yeah. But, be completely honest, okay? When you're at work during the day, are you there 9 to 5, heads down, going for it? Or are you half an hour in the cafe chatting to, Dave about flowers?
Flowers, yeah.
Best I could do.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
About trains, actually, last week.
Or about trains.
Yes, no, I think you're right. But also, when you're at home, how long's your lunch break?
I don't have one.
Okay. But you're at home, your daughter comes in,
true. Yeah,
your wife wants to have a chat with you. You sneak off to the gym for a quick gym at lunchtime. You don't finish in an hour, you finish an hour and a half.
That's me all over.
You're a parallel to this.
The gym,
but I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but it needs a specific sort of person to really maximise their time at home. I think some people are really good at it. A lot of people aren't. In my business, we've got some really efficient people. I know some of my people, it's not a full work day. So going back to the point of the train, if you create an environment where people can work from home and yet when they come in each day, they commute in and it's less stressful for them, it can become cheaper for them because they're not having to pay petrol, wear and tear on the car, sitting in traffic jams, etc. And they can work and be contactable during those times they're commuting. You could, in effect, cut the work hours down. So that's another way of looking at it.
Yeah, no, that's a decent way of looking at it. I was sitting thinking of the economics in my head of having a car and what it costs and what petrol costs and what train tickets might cost. And I think it seems to me that it would even out and it would balance.
I think it would balance. I don't think it'd be cheaper.
No, probably not.
Because you've got to get a cab at one end and maybe a cab at the other.
Yeah, there's connecting transport as well in most cases. Okay.
So, sorry, just to interrupt you very briefly. So this could be a benefit a company could say.
Right.
If you are coming from Dubai to Abu Dhabi, part of your package will be a season ticket. As in the UK, we give those. Suddenly, you're taking away a financial burden for having to own a car. That means we're going to have less people owning cars, less traffic on the roads, less congested roads. Happier Dubai.
Exactly right. Okay, here's another one. Internships. Okay, a couple of recent reports highlight that students often turn down internships, and you can understand why this is, because it's expensive to get to work, and it takes time. So increased travel connectivity goes some way to opening things up a bit, I think, because potentially Etihad Rail kind of democratizes the work, the idea that it democratizes work experience to some extent. So if you're in the Northern Emirates, you're traveling into Dubai or even Abu Dhabi, you can do it. Do you know what I mean? So, there's an even wider pool of people who want to work and want to learn. And I think that has a very real effect on not just the workplace, but also society as well, because it's the old experience thing. How do you get experience when you don't have the experience that you need to get the experience?
And the problem is here, interns typically don't get paid. So Manuri,
very often,
our super intern, we paid her, but she commuted and everything. Then she had to pay parking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So then suddenly her package goes down considerably because you've got to pay for parking. So I think, yes, it will open. I think what this generally does, the train, it opens up opportunities for people to live further away, get a better job. They're not tied by the location. But it also means that employers get people that aren't coming into work frazzled. Because I look at some of my guys that commute in from Sharjah to my JLT office every day, and some days I look at them and I go, you've had a tough journey, haven't you?
That's a journey. That's also quite an expensive journey in Salic terms as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So train ticket could go some way to mitigating that. Let's look at some of the very specific kind of HR areas of having better connectivity, train travel. Should HR managers start highlighting proximity to Etihad Rail as a benefit in job ads? Is that something that's going to happen? The way you would with health insurance or a housing allowance, whatever it is, as though it's a perk.
I had a real estate company recently because I'm looking for an apartment, and they said, "Oh, this one's going to be next door to the new metro station."
Nice.
That was his opening gambit, and I was like, "Oh." He said, "Would you use it?" I went, "No," because it doesn't go to JLT. So what's the point? But if it did. If we had a metro station in the ranches too, sure. I would use that every day. I have no issue with that because I can sit and do some work in a nice environment. Maybe take Raptor every other week, my dog.
I was a Raptor.
He's a Malinois. There's a good the reason he's called. He's a rescue. He's a Malinois mix, so he's called Raptor by my kids. Cause,
are they not the dogs that are really good at jumping over fences?
Yeah, they're army dogs.
Did you do that?
Didn't realise that. I thought he was something else when I got him. But anyway.
maybe research your next dog. Due diligence.
It's my wife.
Due dog diligence.
She came back with him, and I'm like,
she just came back with it.
What's that? And she went, "That's a German Shepherd." I went, "That doesn't look like a German Shepherd." Anyway, it's very small. My mate came back from the army and goes, "Oh, we got these in the camp. They guard the camp." I said, "What do you mean these?" He said, "That's a Malinois." I said, "What's that?" Google it. I'm like, "Oh no."
Well, at least you got a dog. My wife came back with 3 tortoises once. I kid you not. And each of them, they made a break for freedom. They ran off. Literally ran off. You think tortoises don't run? These ran off. They went. Next day there was 1. Day after that, no tortoises. I don't know where they went.
Oh, when my wife, we're digressing hugely. I'll finish this point. We need to get back on. When my wife went to the nursery at the polo club, people used to dump animals there. I don't know why. Somebody dumped a giant tortoise, and it was over 100 years old.
I've seen those. They're amazing things.
He's still there. They can't get rid of him because he's so big. You need a crane to lift him up. I don't know how they got him there in the first place. But apparently the zoos winched him up now and taken him to Safari Park. He's 100 years old.
That's crazy.
He's lovely. He's a beautiful thing. He used to live in the playground for a bit. He's a really nice boy, but quite strong. Anyway, so yes, location. As I was riding on top of him. Yeah. Location is going to be a really interesting thing. I think that HR will use it to sell their company to say we are next door to a train station or we're within 5 minutes from the Etihad rail.
Sure.
That will be a selling point for their jobs. I think what they will do is when they talk to candidates, say, right, you're coming from Fujairah or from Ras Al Khaimah or from Dubai to Abu Dhabi. How are you going to get there? Train. Tick.
Yeah, okay. So if a candidate relies on a commute, how do you see a time when companies are going to have to adapt attendance policies? Because as HR, do you need to be a little bit more lenient towards, transit-based delays, that kind of thing?
I am now. I mean, one of my guys, Jibu, he always messages me and goes, sends me a picture, so I'm stuck in the traffic.
Yeah.
And he's never late. And I just say, right, don't rush. Take your time, chill, whether you're 10 minutes, half an hour late, you'll get here, so don't worry about it. But he's never late. I got some people are late all the time.
Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.
I think we're taking a quick break at the moment for some reason. I'm not quite sure what's going on. We'll just let the music go on.
Quite nice music, actually.
It's quite good, isn't it? So here's another question for you. For employees who choose to live in a different emirate because of the rail, what's the risk of burnout? Is there a danger you're going to get to like a breaking point if there are even minor disruptions, that kind of thing?
I mean, I've been on trains, like I told you, when the wheels wouldn't work. I got stuck on a train for 3.5 hours once in the heat in London. And believe me, that frazzled me. However, I've been stuck on the Sheikh Zayed Road for 2.5 hours because somebody's crashed into somebody else. And that's even more frustrating. So I honestly, I think at least you can sit on your train, read your book, talk to your friends, do some work, go to sleep.
Here's one about salary negotiation, right? I was thinking about this. If a candidate saves hours a week on their commute, does that change the salary negotiation at all? Do employers now have a stronger argument for office-based roles rather than remote roles?
Yeah, that's a good angle. Will companies now say, right, you've got to come into work 5 days a week, which is a bit of a trend that's happening here, actually.
Well, you've talked about this before, hence the...
I don't agree with it. I mean, I love working from the office. And actually, I've gone in, so we do Tuesdays and Thursdays at home. I was in all Tuesday, and 2 of my guys were there. I said, why are you here? We don't like working at home. It's chaos. The kids are around. So I get that. Yes, it's a very good point, actually. Maybe we're going to start seeing a reverse of flexible working. And maybe there's more flexibility about timing. That could be the new angle.
All right, then. We're already talking about the link to Oman. We've mentioned, obviously, the link to Saudi Arabia. How soon before we start talking about a cross-border labour market between the UAE and different neighbours?
Highly likely.
I mean, you would think that's almost like next step, surely.
You think about the UK, people commute as far as Birmingham to London every day. And that's a 2-hour commute in a very small country on, quite frankly, some rubbish trains.
Yeah, but so how far is that, by the way? That's a good couple of hours drive, isn't it?
Yeah, at least.
No, it's probably more like 3 hours.
Yep.
I would think, yeah.
So I used to drive from Oxford to Scotland, take 7.5 hours. So Birmingham is about 3 hours or something.
Something like that. Okay.
So if you think about it, what it could do, you could live in Dubai and work in Saudi during the week. So you leave on Sunday evening. You can go back to your home in your workplace in Saudi, and you can stay in whatever you do. You can work all week there and come back, and so save the plane journey. Better for the environment.
Which is very important, of course. All right, then. So, full network operational by March 2027. That's what within the UAE. That's what we know.
How big will that be then?
That's the full network. I tell you what. I'll just run through I think I've got the details down here somewhere of exactly what it's going to be. I need to find it. Just talk amongst yourselves
I can't
for
wait
a moment.
to go on. I think that you talked about there's a really good train journey in Canada. It goes from Vancouver down to Banff, and it goes to the Rockies. It's really good. But there's a really good one in India called Palaces on Wheels. Have you seen this? You go to 7 different parts in India on a beautiful old steam train, and it's like inside a Maharaja's palace inside there. It's amazing.
Oh, that's for me.
It looks so cool.
So we're back to the romance of train travel now.
And I think there is a certain romance to train journeys, isn't it? Because I've done the Blue Train in South Africa, which is you go through the Blue Mountains. It's just stunning. I've never done the Orient Express. I'd love to do that.
Always fancied that. But I've got the network here for you, by the way. Okay. So June 30th, 2026. So obviously the big launch, Abu Dhabi to Fujairah. So that's Mohammed bin Zayed City Station, Fujairah Al Hilal City. September the 30th, Dubai Station, Jumeirah Golf Estates. This is the big one that everyone is looking forward to. All the way to Al Daid, which is Sharjah. So that's what opens then. Stations in the Al Dhafra region, Sila, Dana, Al Mirfa, Medina Zayed, Liwa, and Al Faya open second last day of the year, December 30th.
Wow.
And on March 30th, 2027, the network gets to completion with the opening of the University City Station in Sharjah. But all the while, you can go kind of one end to the other. Okay, wow. So that's what it's going to be. So how big a change is that? I think was the question I asked you. What was the question I asked you?
I think it's going to really revolutionize.
In terms of office culture.
I think the office culture, I'm not sure how much it will change the office culture. I think it will make people, I said the second biggest stress factor in living here at the moment is driving because of the roads. Even though we build roads really quickly, you can't keep building roads. You can't. You can't keep building double level roads because then the environment becomes unlivable. As most major cities like Japan, get around Japan, they've got like triple highways, and the quality of living near those is very bad. So I think we need to look at an alternative way of getting to work, and the metro has done a really good thing. We now need to move to the next bit, which is inter-emirate travel. And then the next stage after that will be what we call like coastal routes, where you have what we call in UK commuter belt, which are the little trains that zip around everywhere. That'll be the next stage. And suddenly what will happen, you'll be able to go from the ranches to the beach on a little commuter train. It'll take you 20 minutes. That's when you start seeing a massive shift in how people live in the UAE.
For some reason, I thought of the train that you see in the shopping centres with all the little kids in. For some reason, I don't know why. that was the image in my head.
With a big elephant in the back.
But
what about trams? I mean, we've got trams that connect
in the marina,
etc. But imagine trams that connect the whole of the UAE, as the city, i.e., it goes from the marina to the ranches, or obviously I live in the ranches, everyone knows now, or goes out to DIFC. So you go from the ranch to DIFC on a tram.
There is also the trams that are coming in, or are supposed to be coming in, that are essentially just great big long trains on the road as well. That's another side. I think that's under feasibility at the moment, or it's been looked at in some way. So there's that too.
And then we've got drone taxis.
Oh, I know.
What happened to those? Are they still coming?
Coming in end of this year or early next year.
Slightly more concerned about those.
Are you? I think they're kind of in final stage.
I think that. Well, didn't Georgia Tolly went on one the other day, didn't she? And she said it was really impressive.
She might have done. I don't know. I haven't talked to her about that.
I used to fly in army helicopters, right, in Chinooks, and essentially. Those things are just trying to drive themselves into the ground. The physicality of that, rotors that are basically trying to spin it, rip itself apart. Luckily, it never happened with me. But drones in the sky, I'm a bit unsure about those. I love the idea of trains. I love the idea of metros. I love public transport, buses, all those things. And the UAE, you've got to remember, people say, well, why hasn't the UAE done this? We're a 70-year-old country. UK's had hundreds and hundreds of years to get this right. We got it right, now it's falling apart.
You have to retrofit it as well around things, and then you're trying to, it's a very difficult thing to do. It's just a very positive step.
It is, isn't it? And do you not think that the UAE looks at these things and goes, right, there's a problem, there's a solution? It's really good.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Whereas the UK has HS2.
Yeah, that's not much of a comparison, is it? We're over time, but we're always over time. David McKenzie is known as El Jefe.
Nice.
At the regional recruitment firm, Mackenzie Jones. You just need a bit more facial hair. But remember Eli Wallach in The Magnificent Seven? Calvera.
Get a big old...
With the big, you need one of those. More of like a little goatee thing going on. Be good to talk to you.
Thank you very much, as always.
Appreciate you coming back. You can find more interviews and business updates at mirabusiness.fm.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.
This is the Morning Drive, the latest GCC People Pulse from Ipsos and Employee Experience Exchange reveals a surprising contradiction in the region's workforce. Employees are more confident in their organisations than the global average, but half say they're under constant strain at work. While at the same time, AI optimism is rising alongside fears over job security. So there are some seemingly disconnects there. So what do these findings mean for business leaders across the Gulf? James Tarbett is Global Head of Employee Experience at the market research and public opinion consulting firm Ipsos. The man with the answers, I'm hoping. And he's here, so no pressure, James.
Well,
good to meet you.
No, good to meet you, Tim. Thank you very much for having me on.
I want to get to grips with this kind of contradiction. It's almost a conundrum, I think. The new GCC People Pulse Tracker shows, I'm going to quote here, regional employee sentiment significantly outperforms the global benchmark, 9 points higher in advocacy, 22 points higher in confidence. Why is the GCC, the Gulf, first of all, bucking the trend, the global trend of worker disengagement? Let's start there.
So you've used a really interesting word there, which is disengagement. This concept of how do people show up at work? How do they feel about the organization they work for? And what does that mean for some kind of outcome, engagement, whether it's engagement with their work, whether it's engagement with their organization?
Yeah.
Data is a funny thing. You can make it do whatever you want. You can create whatever narrative you like out of data.
Sure you can.
And there are some organizations that will say that, yes, this engagement is on the increase and people are less happy at work and less satisfied and less loyal. Other times you can look at it, you can say, well, it depends whereabouts you're coming from. You know, lots of the headlines about, well, workers have never been more disengaged. How far back are you looking? Are you looking 1, 5, 10 years?
Okay.
Broadly speaking, I would say, from our data and what we see, we haven't seen radical changes in the sentiment and the satisfaction that people have in their workplace. Actually, if you look back far enough, like back to the 1940s, 1950s, we're happier at work than we have been before. So I think you have to look at where you're starting from and what you're comparing to. Regardless of that, certainly from the data in the GCC People Pulse that we've just released, there's high levels of positivity in this region. There's high sentiment towards recommending the organization. There's very high levels of confidence. The confidence one I think is particularly interesting to me because it's considerably, I think 22 points above the global average.
Well, exactly right. So you've got this super high confidence. 81% of employees would recommend their employer. 54% of your respondents report being under constant strain. We're getting to the conundrum, I guess, now. So when employees are happy with the company direction, but they're exhausted by whatever it is, the daily grind, for example, one, how can both be true? And two, what's the biggest risk for a business leader, if that's the case?
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. So we used the word strain in our question and we used it advisedly because strain is the physiological or the psychological response to stress and pressure.
Okay.
So when you're going through life, you come under stress, you come under pressure. It might be in your personal life, it might be in your work life. And if you react to that negatively, if that causes a negative response, that's being under strain. So strain isn't the same necessarily as stress, or it's not necessarily the same as just being under pressure.
But you stress kind of, it's stress, oh, I'm so stressed today.
Yeah.
No, you're just busy.
Yeah, exactly. What you're describing is the feeling that you have in response to the stressors in your life. And I think one of the interesting things working in HR and employee experience is stress is an odd concept because employees generally hold their organization accountable for stress and strain,
Sure.
where their organization isn't necessarily responsible for that stress.
But you've got to blame someone, I suppose.
You've got to blame someone, and I guess it's easy to blame the place that you spend 8 hours of your waking day in your organization. But if you've had a particularly bad argument with your wife, if your youngest 6-year-old hypothetically woke up at 4:45 in the morning and wouldn't go back to sleep, that puts you in a different mindset for the day. Hypothetically, a very specifically aged 6-year-old daughter. Then by the time you get into work, the, whatever you want to call it, the resilience that you have to deal with the stresses, the pressures of everyday life are different. But you're still going to say to your organization, I feel under strain, you're stressing me out. I don't feel particularly good today. So strain is that. And you're right that kind of there's an odd paradox, there's an odd dichotomy in the data of people feel very, very positively about their organization, but are reporting very, very high levels of strain. And not just strain, constant strain as well.
Yeah, well, that's the phrase.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that I could point to. One is a fairly obvious elephant in the room, which is what's been going on in this region over the past few months.
Sure.
Because again, what does this look back at? This was research that was conducted within the last 3 weeks.
Okay.
So it's after the 28th of February, if you will. And it's looking back over the past few months to describe, well, how are people feeling? So it's not perhaps surprising that you have relatively high levels of strain in this region at the moment.
We're all not sure, to be fair, at the moment. There's a lot of uncertainty in there.
There is.
Right.
We call it protected anxiety. Ipsos loves putting labels on things.
That's a great. I'm writing that down.
So
I'm gonna
protected
steal
anxiety is this
Right.
concept that I can look out of my window and I can see people going to the mall and going to restaurants and sitting on the beach, and I'm being told that life is normal by the government, by the media, by my organization.
Yeah.
So I feel on one side protected. And I think what this region has done very well is kind of that narrative of protection, of resilience, of things are normal, we continue, we stand strong.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in all of our own heads, psychologically, we're preparing for, well, what if?
Yeah.
What if something changes? What if things go back to the way they were or don't progress in the way we want to? And that tension that we're feeling in our own heads, that's protected anxiety, because it's shaping lots of citizen, lots of consumer, and lots of employee behavior as well. You see it in everything from the way that we're taking much more value-based decisions in what we buy at the moment. We're looking at the price tags of things more because we might feel like we need to control our finances better in case we need it. Ironically, you're also seeing splurging. You're saying, well, if everything goes to hell in a handcart tomorrow, at least I've had a staycation at Atlantis the Royal today. So you are seeing people taking kind of convenient luxuries and making quite luxury-based purchasing decisions at the moment in the consumer context. In the employee world, when you think about all of that, it's perhaps not 100% surprising that, sure, I still like working for my organization because my organization has a purpose. It's a purpose that's linked with our national purpose here in the UAE or in KSA or in any of the markets that we've done this research on. Because one thing organizations are very good at doing in this region is tying their purpose to some kind of bigger narrative that the country is progressing towards. So I hear all of that, I get it, and that drives a sentiment, but sentiment isn't necessarily the same as the behavior or kind of how I'm actually experiencing it. Strain is much more about the day-to-day experience of life, whereas something like advocacy or confidence is about logically what I'm thinking and what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing.
I like that you use the word strain in this instance. I mean, strain leads to fatigue and burnout and maybe poor decision making. Is this strain coming from excessive workload, the pace of digital transformation? Is it something else unique to the Gulf? Because this is a region with ambition in its work environment.
Yeah, it's a region with ambition. It's a region that moves fast.
Yeah.
It's a region that is describes itself as hustling.
Sure.
Again, that's a very positive thing, but it can also lead to quite negative aspects.
Yeah.
Again, if we think back through history, whenever you've had radical change or rapid change, you've seen the challenging aspects of that, as well as the kind of positivity and around that progression, around that speed and that pace.
Because do you know what? I get to the end of the week. We have a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and to talk to all those people, there is a level of research. This is not brain surgery. I'm not making it out to be more than it is. But on a Friday, I am mentally quite tired at the end of the week, and I figure I'm no different to anybody else in working in Dubai or in this region. So and I'm not saying I'm working towards burnout. I don't feel burned out, but is burnout through the strain of the pace of the work and the environment here, is that a hidden business risk beginning to emerge, do you think?
Yeah, no, very much so. I think you've termed it exactly right, because again, if you think about the impact strain has on an employee, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to not love their company. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to leave their company.
Yeah,
but what it 100% does mean is they're going to be behaving in a different way. We've done lots of research with clients in the banking sector, in the technology sector, in the operations sector that looks at what is the impact of strain on decision-making and on judgment in the workplace. And absolutely consistently, what happens is you see the employees that are under quite significant levels of strain behaving in a fundamentally different way to those that aren't. And it's in a negative way. They're taking decisions that feel convenient. They're taking decisions that fit into the time they have to make that decision. They're taking decisions based on what worked last time rather than thinking about what could be better, what could be more efficient, what could be more innovative. Right. So if organizations are looking to progress, looking to succeed, they need new ideas, they need accountability, they need innovation. All of those things are impacted negatively when you have an employee that's under strain. So it's a hidden risk, you're right, because you might have people that are sticking around in your organization for the long term who still feel under that sense of strain, and therefore they're not operating, they're not thriving for themselves, self-actualization, well-being and all that, but they're also not thriving for your organization.
The data also suggests that employee confidence is one of the strongest drivers of advocacy. So what are the best organizations doing differently? What are they doing well?
So confidence is based around trust, it's based around familiarity, it's based around reputation. In essence, to be confident in something, you need to know what it is, you need to believe in what it's telling you, and you need to feel some kind of sense of involvement in it.
Sure.
So whenever we see organizations with high levels of confidence, with high levels of trust in their leadership, they're generally or purpose-led, mission-led, cool, all of that good stuff. But what they're good at doing is communicating and translating all of that narrative to their employees. Because you can have the best strategy, you can have the most highfalutin purpose in the sector, but if your employees don't know about it, don't believe in it, don't feel involved in it in some way, then they're not going to have a confidence because you're just asking them to trust what you say completely on face value. Leaders in organizations need to be good at informing but also involving their employees and helping them to understand what the change an organization is going through means for them. Yesterday you were doing it this way, tomorrow we're doing it that way, and here's the benefit and here's the reason why. Once you can put that across consistently, transparently, authentically, as a CEO, as a leader of an organization, you're going to have a lot higher levels of confidence in that. I think the other thing about confidence as well is it's not, again, entirely in the gift of organizations to build. What we see when we do the research is how closely confidence in an organization and in the future of an organization is linked to broader confidence in the economy, in the direction of the country in which the employee is based. We did some research on this a couple of years ago. It's a very, very close link. The idea of if you work in an organization, in an economy that is telling a good narrative about itself, that's growing fast, that's not like an endurance economy like we're seeing in some of the Western kind of world at the moment, where they're being buffeted by socio-economic and socio-political things that are not of their own making, that they can't shape. They're just having to react to it. Confidence is much easier to capture because, again, what they hear from their leader is similar to what they hear from their media, from their government, from their leader outside of the workplace too. I think far too often people take different kinds of research, different kinds of experience and want to compartmentalize or silo them. Employee experience is employee experience. Customer experience is customer experience. But we're all people, we're all humans, and quite often the things that we feel outside of the workplace, they don't disappear when we walk through the door.
More than quite often, I would think. Let's drill down into your research a little bit more. Nearly 1 in 4 employees plans to leave within the next, I think it's 2 years, a couple of years. Should employers be worried or more worried about the retention problems that they face?
This is one of those things about data. We can take it in lots of different ways. Should we be worried? So the first thing about that question, we ask that question a lot. The reason we ask that question is when we've done longitudinal analysis, we found it's very predictive of actual behavior. Right. If you say in a survey, particularly your own organization's survey, that you intend to leave within 2 years, the chances are you're going to have left within that 2-year period. Okay. We've got some organizations, we've done it where it's like it predicts 60% of attrition. So it's a very good predictive indicator of actual employee behavior. So you can say if 24% of people are saying in this research they're going to leave within a few points for margin of error, about that many are going to have left within 2 years. So is it bad that a quarter of your employees are leaving within 2 years? Well, that means probably about 12% each year. So you need to have a look at your own attrition data and say, well, is that what we'd expect? Is that what's healthy? Not all attrition is bad. Sure. You need to have new ideas. You need to have that regeneration of the workforce in your organization. So
wheat from the chaff.
Wheat from the chaff.
Maybe that's a little bit extreme, but you know what I mean.
I would say that at a headline level, that statistic wasn't surprising or concerning to me.
Okay.
But what I would do as an organization is look at where are my hotspots? Where is that higher? Again, when we broke it down by country, for example, Qatar showed higher levels of attrition risk. I think it was the third in Qatar. So is that more concerning? Are there populations by ethnicity, by gender, by age, where it's more of a risk?
Middle career employees appear from your data to have the highest attrition risk. So why? Why is that so particularly important?
Middle-aged people or mid-career people, you just have to kind of equate it to what does that mean practically for what their lives are like in an organization.
Right.
I mean, we'll talk in generalities. They'll probably tend to be middle career. They'll probably tend to be middle management. They'll probably tend to be around the middle of the seniority levels of the organization. What does that mean for their job? Well, it means they have to take a lot of strategy down from the leaders and work out how to do that strategy, how to disseminate that strategy. They also need to be operationally efficient because actually it's not all about strategy, it's about actually doing the thing. They're often line managers of other line managers, so there's all of the stuff they're getting hit by marketing, HR, communications. They need to manage their own team. That population within an organization has to deal with a lot, has to do a lot, and is under a lot of pressure. They're also the people that probably have got to a stage where they know a lot about the organization. There's a lot of inherent understanding and experience there. So the fact that they're more likely to want to leave, one, might not be surprising. They're under high levels of pressure. Two, should be concerning because all of that knowledge is going to walk out of the organization. Generally speaking, you tend to say the cost of attrition is about 1.5, 1.7 times someone's salary. So there's a financial cost to it. But actually, I would say in that particular population, the real cost is how on earth are you going to replace them?
Here's the AI question. There has to be an AI question in every.
And we've done well to
interview.
get so far without.
I know.
talking about it.
I've held it off for a while, actually. 73% of your respondents see AI as a business enabler. Fine, that's understandable. But nearly half fear for long-term job security. So if you're a leader of an organization, how do you resolve that tension? Can you, because it's coming whether we like it or not, can you implement AI without losing trust in your staff?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's a really good question. I think, take the first bit. Yes, there is this duality in the data, and we don't just see it with this research. Every single time we ask anyone about AI, we're all so confused about AI.
Exactly that, yeah.
I mean, we do a big piece of annual research in about 50 different countries called Global Trends. And last time we did it, we found that, and I can't remember the precise statistics, but people were very concerned about technology destroying the world. People were very excited about technology because it was the only thing that could save us. They were worried about their privacy. They thought, well, we have to be on social media. And the percentages all overlapped. I mean, we've just released a piece of research this week called Flare Qatar that looked at, again, Qatari workforce. And 62% of them thought that AI was going to create a lot of jobs. And 69% of them thought that AI was going to destroy a lot of jobs. So a third of them think that AI is going to both create and destroy a lot of jobs. Yeah. And I'm not sure whether it's the same ones. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this, but it's fascinating to see how many organizations are laying people off because of AI and then quietly 6 months later realizing they probably need to hire quite a lot of them back. Yeah. So I think we're really in turmoil about AI. I think the thing that organizations need to get much better at doing, though, is realizing that AI is a behavioral, it's a cultural change. It's probably one of the biggest behavioral changes that we have going on and have done for a period of time. It's not marketing, it's not training, it's not, oh, aren't you so lucky that we've bought Gemini for everyone in the organization, off you go and use it. It is a cultural change program. Yeah. And I think it's really being fundamentally misunderstood by most organizations, because what they think you can do is buy everyone AI, maybe give them a 1 hour training. But it's frightening, by the way, all the research we do in different countries about how little training people are getting. But you give them a bit of training and you just think they're just going to somehow, by osmosis, understand how to utilize it in their role. You need to treat it like a cultural change. You need to win hearts and minds. You need to help people understand how it applies to their role. Because all of the data in here about concern about AI for job security, all of the data that we see elsewhere about concern about technology more general, again, is born out of concern and fear. And fear is because you're not aware, you're not familiar, you don't trust, you're not involved. The same behaviors need to hold. We just did launch some research yesterday from Denmark, which may not be entirely applicable to the GCC, but go with me, which was looking at how do people interact with AI? What support do they get as employees?
Right.
And one, support is terrible. Two, one of the biggest predictors of whether people would use AI frequently and use it in their role was whether their line manager was encouraging them to do it. So yet again, you have the situation where it's the line manager, it's that middle population who are responsible for creating enthusiasm, creating a desire to interact with a new thing. And again, that's exactly what you'd get in a cultural change and operational transformation. So the concern doesn't surprise me. The confusion definitely doesn't surprise me because we're all confused. What concerns me is, again, how organizations are doing it in terms of AI adoption, but also when we've done broader research, how closely concern about AI is also linked to what we were talking about earlier, which is strain. So whenever we've done workforce research, the people who are concerned about AI are also the people that are saying they're exhibiting quite high levels of strain. Now, correlation is not causation. I'm not saying you fix one, you fix the other, but it's interesting.
It is. Because it seems to be at the moment that I would guess in many organizations, it's as simple as this. Here's Claude, here's Gemini, here's Copilot. We're paying for it. Make sure you use it.
Yeah.
It's really as
But
simple
don't make
as
sure you use it too much, because we're over our tokens for this month. Because we haven't thought about that for our P&L.
Yeah, exactly. Work hours only. But I mean, that's really interesting. So what role does leadership communication play during a period of AI transformation and economic change and cultural change?
Yeah. I've said the words a couple of times, but just to link them together and make it really clear, the two biggest predictors of employee response to change are information and involvement. Yeah. Any change, whether it's a new strategy, a new structure, people being laid off, we've all bought Claude, you need to inform people, and you need to inform them in a very specific way. Yesterday you were doing this, tomorrow you were doing that, and here is the reason why. But then they need to feel a level of involvement. They need to feel a level of engagement with the concept, not employee engagement, kind of engagement in terms of...
It's more than that. It's ownership, really, in some way.
Well, ownership is great, but of course you can't always have ownership because, and we're all adults, we're all mature, we know that we can't drive the change ourselves. We're being done to most of the time with change. But do I at least have the sense that I've been able to discuss it, ask questions, get a response from my peers, from my manager, from someone in some sense of authority? If you get information and you get involvement, actually change is, I wouldn't say easy because change is not easy, but it's much easier because you'll actually have built that bedrock of understanding and belief before you really implement it too much.
Have you got a little bit more time? We're over time, but I've got a lot of questions to ask you.
Gladly.
Appreciate it. Looking at this data, 78% of people in the region feel they can be themselves at work. I'm interested in this because I'm wondering what being yourself means in data terms. How much of this being yourself is driven by, I don't know, aggressive nationalization policies or a push for, everybody's, our workplace culture, a very distinct workplace culture seems to be a mantra.
Belonging is an interesting concept. There's lots of ways we could have asked this question. The one we picked is kind of, again, it's grounded in a slight sense of self-actualization. Do I look around and think that I'm in a place where I can be myself, where I can bring my whole self to work?
Yeah.
It's interesting because this is the statistic in the research that is lower than external benchmarks. So quite often the GCC employees are saying they're much more positive than, say, elsewhere. And again, so when we compared benchmarks for this research, we have a global employee database of about 3.5 million responses from all of the research that we do with clients globally. So we're comparing this population to that. And mostly they're very, very positive. For this one, it was a bit lower. And I think you could look at that in a number of ways. You could look at that as it's such a melting pot here. And what are you belonging to?
Sure.
Do you belong to the organization? Do you belong to your diaspora? Do you belong to the GCC or the UAE because of where we're all going as a nation? It would also be convenient, I think, because we also look at nationalization in this report, to aggregate and think, well, inclusion and representation is going very well for nationals, but it's causing a problem for others. And I don't think it's that, because nationalization isn't a zero-sum game. Whenever you have any kind of program of representation for a particular portion of the population, it doesn't mean that the rest of the population should necessarily be negatively impacted, as long as you design it well And again, as long as you communicate it effectively. And so again, I'd look at this statistic, and if I was in an organization, I'd say, well, how are we putting across the progress that we're making towards nationalization agendas? Are we doing it in a way that makes people understand that that's not instead of belonging, that's not instead of inclusion? Are we looking at how people are progressing through the organization, or are we just saying, last year we had 6% of this population and now it's 8%, and kind of tick, pat on the back, and there we go? Because the way that you talk about this from a inclusion, from an equity, from a representation point of view is very important. And we've seen that from other DEI work in other countries with other agendas, be it gender, be it people of determination or disability, and other areas like that.
You said that advocacy, recommending your company to others is a lead indicator of performance. So if a staff member is an advocate, and I'm going back to the earlier part of our conversation really, but this is it's in my head. If you're an advocate, but you're also strained, how long does that high performance last before it's time for me to get to the exit?
Yeah. So what we talk about for advocacy and performance. So again, it actually goes to the very first thing you said around engagement. So the way that employee engagement is measured is often quite passive sentiment, pride, motivation, satisfaction. Advocacy is a bit more active because it's actually describing a behavior. Pride is just a thing. But advocacy is saying, next time you have a conversation about a great place that you want to go and be employed by, I'll recommend my place to you. So it's more predictive of performance from that point of view because it actually looks at the behavior. You're right that eventually, if you're constantly under strain, why would you recommend anything to anyone? Because it's making you ill or it's making you burn out. The strain is a leading indicator of burnout. Burnout is the thing that's happened, and once it's happened, you can measure it, but it's too late. So I would say that the inflection point is difficult to identify, and it's probably better for me to sit here and say I don't know than kind of try and explain it. But I would say that at some point, if you constantly have a negative experience, at some point your sentiment, your engagement will disappear, will fall.
Okay, so employee feedback, these are all things, they're rattling around my brain at the moment. You got me thinking. There you go. Employee feedback appears to double advocacy and loyalty.
Yeah.
So why do so many organizations, even now, struggle to build a genuine, if I say listening, why do they struggle with listening culture?
It's an interesting one. So I've been in this region just over a year.
Yeah.
And previously I was in the UK. So I've seen lots of different ways that lots of different markets and lots of different ecosystems of listening have emerged. Right. And I would say that this region is maturing in the way that it listens to employees, but it is quite, and even the data says it's quite foundational. So there's a data point in this report, if anyone wants to dig into it, that looks at how would HR practitioners think their employee listening, their employee voice program is categorized as. Foundational, it's practiced, or it's leading. And over 70% of the practitioners in this region said it's foundational. Okay. It's we do an engagement survey every year, every other year. Or we do some kind of research that allows us to have a badge that says that we're a good place to be employed every now and again.
Yeah.
That's good. It's better than nothing. But if you want to actually be able to start doing strategic workforce planning, if you want to understand the risks that we've talked about in this conversation, what's going to happen in 6 months' time? Is everyone going to have disappeared in 18 months? Then you need to start listening in different ways, whether it's more frequently, whether it's on different topics. And I would say that is something that we're seeing much more of in this region. It's something that employee research has to learn from, say, customer research. I mean, as customers, you'll know as well as I do, every single time we do anything at all with anyone, we get a survey. How was your Big Mac? How was your stay? What did you think of the escalator? By the time you get to the top of the escalator, you keep hitting those emoji buttons in airports. Customer experience has done very well at building an edifice of data that can be analyzed. Employee research is catching up to the curve, but it's still behind the curve. So organizations that have a look at this report, what they should be able to ask themselves is this reflective of how the experience of our people is here? If they can't answer it, maybe that's the time for them to think about, well, how can we have a conversation? How can we build an honest two-way listening approach with our employees, because organizations do better when they make better decisions. And better decisions are more holistic decisions that take the entire stakeholder population into account. And that doesn't just mean finance data and risk data and marketing data and customer data. It also means employee data too. And far too often in my career, I've seen organizations underweighting the voice of their employees, where actually the employees are probably one of the most important voices for genuine progression, innovation, efficiency that an organization has. I mean, they're the single biggest resource an organization has to be successful, after all.
There's still an attitude of, that's just touchy-feely. That's what the hippies do.
It's a word cloud.
It really is.
It's a mood board.
Yeah.
But it's not. You look at people analytics, you look at the way that, say, strategic workforce planning is emerging in different markets, in this market. What it's allowing business leaders, and not just HR leaders, but business leaders to do, is to understand where are the operational, where are the financial risks in their organization that are coming from within.
We're in a landscape increasingly dominated by AI, data-driven performance metrics. So if you're a manager now and you want to ensure your team is strain-free, not burning out, what's the most important skill a manager needs?
Being open is the most important skill the manager needs. Building a genuine environment of psychological safety is the most critical indicator for team success. Google did this, I think it was 2013, they did this research. It was called Project Oxygen or Project Aristotle, Project Oxygen, I think,
okay,
which basically looked at what are the biggest predictors of team success. And the single biggest predictor of team success was psychological safety. The idea that you feel comfortable sharing an opinion, sharing a different idea, challenging someone else for their opinion, and actually feel comfortable doing that without worrying about the consequences to you, whether they are career-based consequences, actually whether they're behavioral and social consequences as well. You're not being shunned. You're not being the person that no one speaks to anymore because you're the one that always causes a problem or kind of has a different point of view. If managers can build that kind of environment in their teams, almost regardless of what happens elsewhere in an organization, that team will be a higher performing team because that team will have more ideas, because that team will have more honesty and candor around, is this the right thing to be doing? No, shut it down, try something different.
So this is it's much more than hearing, isn't it? This is listening.
It's listening. It's listening, but it's also, you don't just have to listen and take it and say nothing. A manager that turns around to their employees, says, that's a really nice idea, we're not going to do it, and here's the reason why. That's a manager that's listened genuinely, and that's a manager that's managed to formulate an honest, a candid, a useful response. Again, we're all grown-ups when we're employees. We understand that not every single idea that we have, regardless of how well we think it's going to transform the organization, is one the organization can do. But being told, being heard, and being responded to and closing that feedback loop is incredibly important for us to feel involved in the organization.
Are you moving this tracker to a monthly?
Yeah. So one of the really important things about this, that both we and our partner EXE, so EXE is a network here and a community of HR and internal comms professionals, and they're very keen, as we are, on trying to elevate the conversation about workforce, about people in our markets. One of the things we wanted to do was build something that was genuinely responsive. Because what you don't want to happen when you do a big piece of research, I can assure you, is you come in waving it and then the next day the big thing happens and it's completely useless. Yeah. So the tracked nature of this is really critical because it will allow us to understand, are there calendarized trends in employee behavior? Does everyone want to leave their job in January, for example? Yeah. Are there things where we can see how those workforces are responding to external events, or as we move towards kind of vision, whichever it is for whichever market that you want to do. So the track nature of it is fine. So we'll do the field work monthly, we'll report quarterly. Right. And the reason for that is that then we can still report those trends and those changes, but the data stays representative. What I don't want to happen is come in here and kind of say, yes, 81% of people think that, and that's based on, I don't know, 15% margin of error. That's not good for anyone. Yeah, okay. I mean, in my experience of this, is it's the annual engagement survey, and that's kind of traditional thing, and we have a big hour conversation and don't really learn anything. But I guess with a monthly
cadence, for want of a better word, you can track very specific points in the data.
And you can also, and you'll obviously appreciate that kind of working, what you do, you can be editorial.
Exactly. That.
You can have a look at the things that
Quite right.
you'll stay constant. I mean, we're probably not going to change the confidence metric, for example. It's important. We want to track that. But if something happens, we want to be able to drop that pebble in the water and see what the ripples say in this workforce population in these markets.
Based on this particular research, James, is there one piece of boardroom level advice for a leader anywhere in the GCC trying to balance this kind of growth at all costs with a sustainable, a properly healthy employee experience that you would have, do you think?
I mean, what I would certainly say that if anyone reads this report, don't just think, oh, this report says this, therefore I must do this.
When people read this report.
Of course.
Exactly. When?
If they're reading it for the fifth time, I should say, rather than
right.
for the first time. Don't just say, oh, well, 81% of people think this, therefore that's fine.
Yeah.
This is an external provocation, really, because it's not your employees that I've researched, it's employees. So does this reflect what you're seeing in your own organization? What kind of conversation can you have with your chief people officer, your chief HR officer about, are we seeing the same trends here? In terms of one thing that I do, I mean, I've said it a few times, so it's probably just as well to remind kind of one last time before we close, which is involvement is so important.
Yeah.
So not just assuming that you can communicate once and done. There's lots of, this is a region that is very focused on its reputation. It's often more focused on its reputation externally than it is internally, within organizations particularly. So internally communicating what's going on and involving employees in what's going on, I think is the single biggest thing that will continue to improve the experience of employees.
Okay. Where can you get the research, by the way? The current research and then the quarterly research. Where can you get hold of it?
So the report is available, and it's a very short URL, so I'll read it out, which is gcc.weareexe.com.
Okay.
But it's going to be all over socials as well. So if you just look at EXE or us, you'll see us talking about it in the next few days as well. And the next one will be in Q3. And maybe we can come back and have another conversation about that then.
I was going to say, we need to get you in quarterly, I think. So that's a date for a diary kind of thing.
Wonderful.
Probably. It's been good to talk to you. The takeaway, reasonably clear. Confidence is high, strain is real. And I suppose the winners are going to be the leaders that reconcile those two.
And we're all confused about technology.
Yeah. Oh, believe you me. Never a truer word. James Tarbett is Global Head of Employee Experience at Ipsos. Great to talk to you. Thank you.
Likewise. Thanks.
Appreciate it. If you prefer listening on the go, find Mira Business FM on Spotify and also Apple Podcasts.
Mira Business FM, your daily guide to the markets, money, and more.